Hey guys, looks like we are live. What are we going to talk about today? Today's live is dedicated to cheat sheets. I typically do an intro and don't kind of give any hints as to what we're going to talk about today. Very simple. We are talking about cheat sheets. How do we use them during formals during the day? Whether you are photographing family photos, individual portraits, events like weddings, even corporate shots. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about. And for the quick intro, if you don't know, maybe you're watching the live for the first time, maybe you're joining me here, whether on YouTube or Facebook for the first time. I'm Marcin, and I have been doing photography for the last 17 years. We did all sorts of photography, but primarily we, in the end, focused on events. I say we because it's 95% of my time working with clients. It would be me and my wife, or me and another assistant working the event. At the beginning, of course, it was just me. So if you're starting your journey, if you're at the beginning of the journey, you're wondering how does this photography business works. This is exactly what I'm here to talk about. Every Thursday at 12 o'clock, I go and I basically share. I take a little component from the photography business, and I basically share anything from what camera to get, what lens to get, how do we edit stuff, do we do selections, how do we operate the business of photography, anything from like legal to accounting. How do we generate leads, which a lot of us are struggling with, right? So today I was actually on a walk the other day, and I was reflecting back on the wedding we recently did in Miami, and I said it probably would be helpful for some of you guys to just see what we do with cheat sheets, because even though we are doing this for 17 years, like some of the images are baked into our head. So like when we show up at the shoot, we kind of know what to do, but then we still use the cheat sheet to just kind of make things smoother and faster. And you don't always remember from if you go back in time, or maybe you're starting and like just need some sort of an idea. Sometimes you're on location, things happen, or things get a little hectic, and you're like, oh my god, what do I do next? Cheat sheets are sort of like a great way of providing that reminder. So you basically grab it. I'll show you what it looks like, and I'll tell you kind of when we use it and how it's sort of helping us out. So as always, I have a couple things to show you guys. I actually have a slide deck for you, so it'll help me stay organized. And I will also show you the actual cheat sheet, like what it looks like. So let's dig in. Let's look at the slideshow first. Let's see what we got here. Pull up the screen. Hopefully you guys can see it. And the title slide, the wedding photographer's cheat sheet system. It's not really a system. It's a piece of paper, usually a couple pieces of paper. But it's basically how to streamline your workflow and capture predictable and beautiful formals. I say formals, but it's really arrangements. When you're dealing with a group individual, like how do you arrange those individuals? And not only that, I'm digging in already, but like you'll see, it's almost like trigger points throughout the day for different things that you're doing, whether you are dealing with people or maybe you're doing some detailed shots. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. And then you're really in the process where you're doing with cheat sheets, and you'll see why later. You're building your signature style that just kind of happens over time, and you'll see what I am talking about in a second. So first thing here, when we use cheat sheets, so I'll just stick to events, but you can kind of apply it across the board. Just think of whatever sessions you guys are doing. Maybe you're doing families like here in the slideshow. Maybe you're doing families at like events. What is it? When do I actually grab a cheat sheet? But before we talk about that, I actually wanted to flash something and just show you here. So on my computer, part of my files there, I keep track of different cheat sheets depending on what I'm using them for. If we have a shoot that's non-conventional, maybe I always try to put together cheat sheets that will help me with the shoot on location, because maybe the location is changing. So I'll give you an example. When we were shooting the Miami wedding, I started looking up ideas for like what can we do, how can we leverage locations when we're in Miami, like how can we do that. We also had a wedding at a football stadium, and I was absolutely clueless because this was really the first time we had an opportunity like that, and I said, okay, because it's probably 1 in 100, right? I wanted to make sure that I leverage the location. So whenever I change location, whenever I have a unique location I deal with, I also go in here and create a dedicated folder. And here in my files here, you can see cheat sheets folder with a bunch of categories. So anything we have done recently, like categories, this is for events. So anything for like, hey, what do I want to do with brides' portraits? I have a folder for that. What if I want to shoot detail? And inside, if I just click on it, you'll see that it's just images of the bride. I'll tell you later what I'm doing with those images. But sometimes I go on Pinterest, sometimes I go online or different photographers. I'm not copying images per se, but they always give me an idea of like the lighting and positioning. And so do I try to imitate something, get closer, and then it evolves into my own sort of how I position people? Yes. And this is what I do with bride. Same thing for details. Maybe you're trying to take pictures of rings or jewelry, or like in this case, shoes. I take a bunch of ideas, put them into a folder, and then build a cheat sheet based on this. And this helps me later with generating ideas on the spot, right? Same thing here. If I'm doing something with bridesmaids, it's just girls. This is same concept. I would just go and collect those images. Same with groom or group pictures. This is just something with like, hey, what can I do with guys in a church or on location? Maybe we're in a park. Maybe we're using stairs. I have a bunch of these in a folder as well. And then 2 of them, it's just usually a couple. This could be used for just regular couple. Maybe you're doing an engagement session. Maybe you're doing something for a couple, husband and wife. You can utilize those images too. But I just throw a bunch of them into a folder, and then I build something that looks like this, which is essentially a cheat sheet. I have a bigger version for you so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But this is what the cheat sheet would look like. And here I just have an example of 3 different cheat sheets. And you'll see that there's kind of a layout to it. So the images I was showing you before, I basically go into Photoshop. There's an option to create contact sheet. And basically contact sheet is you point Photoshop to a folder, and it pulls images from that folder, and it just builds this nice layout. And then I just print them, stack those printouts in my backpack, and I have them on location. It's not uncommon for me to, when I work during the prep or when I work with the couple or families, to look at those cheat sheets. So the first question is usually like, what do you mean? How does that look like? Like, isn't it kind of weird to be pulling out cheat sheets as you're working, knowing, for the client to know you've been doing this for a while? Listen, here's the argument. I never, ever, in my 17 years of experience photographing people, had an instance where a client would complain about me trying to do something better for them. In the end, I have more photos to choose from. They're always going to be happier because in the end, they have a better product. So nobody cares. Actually, it's the opposite. If they see you kind of leveraging different things and getting ideas, and sometimes it's funny, but like sometimes a client would see the cheat sheet like, oh, what is that? Let me take a look. Oh, by the way, I saw this image, and like you would trigger almost thinking process for them as well. So, and they get excited. They see that you have prepared, that you care about this thing, and you're just not sort of winging it. So, would I use it all the time on every single location with every single couple? No, that's not the case. But like very often, I would grab one and just kind of go through them for like a mental refresh almost, right? So in this case, you're basically seeing the images. There's like 3 different sheets, and from the beginning at the top here, you guys can see where my cursor is. It goes with just individual pictures of the bride, then it kind of gets into like details of the rings and the shoes and the jewelry. And then on the second sheet, I have pictures where I usually work with like bride and bridesmaids at the beginning of the day. So I would have different ideas for like, what can I do with their portraits? And then the same thing for the guys. So Joanna would also, like, if she would work with me or another assistant, would have a cheat sheet with them as well, to again to just kind of brainstorm and see, hey, how can we leverage the location? What can I repeat here? And then same thing, same process would take place with the groomsmen. So it's just to trigger ideas, and on the third cheat sheet here, you'll see group images. So this is some sort of a mix of bridal and guys with the bride and bride with the boys. And then in the end, it's just two of them. And I usually, like here, you only see a few images at the bottom, like the last 3 rows, really, or maybe 2. But sometimes I would have a dedicated cheat sheet just to handle the bride and groom, because we usually spend a good 15-20 minutes just with them on location. And bride and groom, it's actually easier because we have done it so many times that it's baked in. But very often I would also go back and try to refresh. So this is really what the cheat sheet would look like. I'm gonna go back here to the slide deck, and let's just see what we have here. So when to use cheat sheets, I basically, there's still, again, I'm talking about an event, right? So this is a scenario situation where we work with the client throughout the day. So it's morning, midday, and then afternoon or evening. But I would use cheat sheets during the preparation phase. So quick reference during chaotic getting ready moments. This is super helpful, because when I get into an event, very often what I try to do is I'm trying to stay. This may sound a little weird, but like we've noticed that it's working. Instead of showing up at a location and trying to be in front of somebody's face with a camera immediately, like, remember, you're getting there. Nobody really kind of knows you, So we've noticed over time, like over the first 2, 3, 4 years, that it's actually better to give people some room when you arrive at the location. And very often, what I choose to do first is just take pictures and formal pictures of the details first. And it's nice because you get the time calmly to go through your list of things, whether it's a dress, shoes, jewelry, flowers. So you focus on those details, and it usually takes you about like a good 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes, depending on how many things you have to photograph and focus on. But that gives people an opportunity to, as you interact with people, as you act for jewelry, or as you ask bridesmaids for, like, where, how to position the dress, and just kind of different things. They get used to you. They get more chatty. They get super comfortable with you, and it's super nice because let me just adjust the mic here, because I just noticed that it maybe actually switched over. All right, let's see if this is better. If not, not a big deal. But what happens is people get used to you, and then it's easier to move on to, like, the portraits of the actual people, right? So preparation phase, I use it. I basically pull out the list, and then as I do different images, different pictures of the formal stuff, I would use my cheat sheet just to get different ideas and position objects. Sometimes it's not actually like replicating the photo, but sometimes it's maybe, let's say, I'm going to use an example of what if you're doing rings, for example. I can look at the picture and see, oh, this is I've placed the rings here on flowers or a bouquet. But this just gives me an idea of, like, where else can I place the ring around the house? And we just kind of choose different objects. Sometimes with rings, I'm having a lot of fun. So I'm trying to position them in different places. So same thing with, like, shoes. If I have a portrait of shoes, like, okay, I have to take a picture of shoes, and then I usually put them for, like, first I try with, I usually go with, like, a safe image and try to do that. And then I switch over to something more funky, and I basically experiment. And sometimes when I experiment, does it always work? Not really. And it's okay, because on the other hand, sometimes you try something funky and it's an absolute blast, and the image just stands out. And What happens later is that image then will end up on one of your cheat sheets later, and this is how you build your style, improve your portfolio, because your cheat sheets will eventually build out of your own images, and you'll know exactly how to replicate those images from wedding to wedding, because this is really kind of what clients expect. Same with family photos, same with senior portraits, so it's applicable everywhere. For formal portraits, we have, I did show you the cheat sheet. That's more of a like a creative cheat sheet. But what I do have also is a cheat sheet. A lot of times it's not really visual. A lot of times it's just a written list of family arrangements. A lot of times we don't necessarily work off of any sort of cheat sheets that's provided by the client. Like, we know what we're doing and we're professionals, so we want clients to trust us. But we do ask sometimes the client for any sort of things to watch out for. Sometimes people are, divorced. Sometimes couples get sensitive. Sometimes you have to be careful with what you're doing. But so we have that conversation usually with the client. It's not in the form of like, give me the list of pictures. It's more of a, hey, what should we watch out for? Are there any sort of special arrangements, family things that we need to incorporate and just kind of factor into the situation to make sure that we don't sort of cross any boundaries and we don't step on any toes. So formals, usually Joanna already has it so automated, because we used to start with just a cheat sheet, and we knew always that we had to start with a couple, and then maybe bring in the parents, then maybe bring bride's extended family, and then combine it with another family. So we go down this list, and by the time we're down at the bottom of the list, we know we have everybody covered, from godfathers to grandparents to everybody. And this, as you have it, the stress levels go down, because you know that when you're working off of that list. Over time, though, when you do it, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 times, that stuff just gets baked in and you have it memorized. So unless you have any sort of special things to watch out for, you just kind of follow your list. Reception, I said rarely, because reception allows you're there for such a long time. And at the reception, usually when we are shooting the couple being announced, or first dances, or parents dances, or cake, we usually go for our standard shots of, like, we know what we have to do already, and then that experimentation chapter kicks in. So when I go in, I basically take what I know I have to take, and when I have those 2-3 solid photos, then I simply try to experiment. And with dancing, it's sky is the limit. We don't need cheat sheets for that, because very often from situation to situations things change, and we just try to go with the flow. So it's really super easy. And I said at the bottom, idea triggers. Let's look at that slide again. Idea triggers, inspiration starters, not strict templates. Again, very often we have clients coming in, and they have an idea for a photo. Maybe they saw something, maybe it's friends' weddings. And although, as I said, we don't try to copy exactly, because it's impossible to do that, we try to take it as a sort of direction, like trying to understand what the client needs. And we'll try to take something simple, but very often maybe it cannot be replicated, and that's okay too. In the end, client saw the portfolio, they know your work, they trust you. And just because they're asking for one particular photo, you can try it, but I always lead into it with the sort of legal disclaimer to say, hey, we're going to try. This may not work, so if it doesn't work, you're probably not going to see the picture. If it does, great, and they are usually okay with that. When I say usually, it's like 99%. And sometimes that 1%, we've had clients where they specifically pushed because there was a specific reason, and then we would work with them to achieve that. So this is how I would use the cheat sheet. And next one, it says regular updates, refresh every 2-3 months to stay current. And this is exactly that list I showed you guys at the very beginning. When I do the cheat sheets, I use the one sheet printed from wedding to wedding. Sometimes every other wedding, I would have the cheat sheets assembled differently from even wedding to wedding. So even though I pulled images from the same folder, I put them in a different, in sort of a different, on a different layout, or maybe I would pull different poses for different weddings. Because as you do that, imagine if you have 3 versions of your cheat sheet for bride's portraits, even if you do 3 weddings 3 different ways, you're gonna in the end up with so many images for your portfolio that it shows other clients your variety, your flexibility, that you're flexible with style, that you're ready to like adapt and try different ideas and different concepts. You're not a photographer where it's like you're looking at 3 weddings across your portfolio and they all look the same. So yes, some formal photography still needs to be incorporated, right? Let's say bride and groom formal portrait. Like, you don't need a cheat sheet for that. If you're doing bridal, the bride and groom with mom and dad, or the other side of the family, like, you don't need a cheat sheet for that. So even if you're doing maybe a bride and the flower girl, like, you probably don't need a cheat sheet for that. At least with time, you don't. But like I said, if you have the arrangement, let's say you have the 3 versions of the cheat sheet, if you just circle them around from event to event or from family session to family session, eventually, because people look different in the same, like even when you're using the same cheat sheet and you're working with 3 different families, let me tell you, photos will look different because the setup is different, the lighting is different, the location is different. Everybody looks different. The expressions are different. Everybody poses differently. We never try to force people to do certain things on shoots. It's more of a directional thing. So when we ask couples to do something, we don't tell them to kiss a particular way. We just tell them to kiss. Everybody kisses differently. Everybody hugs differently. So it's more of a relaxed thing, and that's what happens there. So we update the sheets. And then the more photos we get, the stuff that we like from what we have shot previously, every 2 to 3 months, I go back to whatever we have done for the shoots before, and I update our cheat sheets for next time. And this is sort of how you evolve and work gets better and better and better. And it's easier to replicate the ideas because you're the one that took the photo in the first place, so you kind of know mentally where you are and what you need to do to get there. Inspiration sources, I basically, on this slide here, I say Pinterest boards and successful past sessions. So exactly, so it's your photos, and very often I just go to Pinterest and I literally type in, let's say I wanted to take photos of an executive, I would go in and on Pinterest and search for formal headshots and then assemble a cheat sheet this way. So when the client gets there, I can kind of guide them through the process. It's never the situation where you're there with a camera, client looks at you and you don't really know what to do with them. So super helpful. Essential categories I listed here, but you guys have already seen this. So it's bride solo poses, groom portraits, bridal party groupings, family combinations, whoever you need to swap out in the photo, and then details that brides care about a lot. A lot of time goes into planning a wedding. A lot of money goes into planning a wedding. And detail shots are important, and especially when you guys get to design some sort of like a preview, whether it's an online album, maybe it's a mobile mini app where they can preview their stuff. But especially when you're designing albums, nobody wants to look at family photos throughout the album. maybe your parents and grandparents do, but usually for the couple, everything is important. And I think I overextended everything for the bride. Grooms, sometimes they don't care, but for the brides, you got to make sure you have everything covered. So it's super important. Let's take a look at our next slide here. Field implementation. Reference during live sessions, quick glances between shoots, keep ideas flowing. This is, guys, especially helpful when you have an assistant. Oh my God, life gets so easy because as I'm basically standing there, I'm just going to use church as an example, right? Or formals outside of the church. And what's super nice is that you basically get to just kind of hold the camera and you're in position to take the photo. And then if your assistant, or maybe you can even like scan through the cheat sheet or look at the cheat sheet, or your assistant, while you're taking a photo, your assistant can kind of glance at it and like, hey, what's next? What idea are we going to implement? Very often, when my assistant is working with the client and aligning them, I look at the cheat sheet and I go, oh, this one would be good, or that one would be great. And my assistant already knows where we're going to go with the image. It's more of a directional thing of like, they have to stand this way or that way. So it's super helpful. Adapt to people and environment. Again, not every cheat sheet will be applicable because maybe you have a bunch of images, with a couple in front of a lake, and now you're, maybe indoors or in a different location. So, like I said, it's never trying to replicate exactly what's on a cheat sheet, but it's more of a directional thing and to give you ideas on where you can take your next image. Modify poses based on client comfort and location. That's exactly what you have to kind of keep in mind. I mentioned this idea of like client bringing their own photos, asking if we can like replicate something, and you have to remember, not everybody can replicate the feeling from the photo. Very often, people look differently. What if the bride is shorter and a groom is super tall, and the image they're showing you, it's of a couple that same height, like it's just impossible to replicate it, at which point you have to improvise and say, oh, okay, we're going to do something similar, but we're going to change this and this. So not always you can copy exactly, and then evaluate results, keep successful ideas and replace others. Like I said earlier, you basically keep the winners, and then you develop your future cheat sheets and your portfolio, and then you just get rid of stuff that doesn't work. Maybe you've tried a cheat sheet, you've tried an image, you've attempted 3 or 4 times, never worked. Like, just clean it up and make sure that you can only replace it with better ideas over time. The next slide here is natural evolution of your style. So yeah, at the very beginning, depending on kind of where you are on your journey, maybe you're just starting, maybe you have shot a couple photos, maybe you did family stuff, but like you want to get into events. Initial weddings, heavy reliance on reference materials. At the very beginning, when we actually started with no cheat sheets, and everything was sort of kind of winging it on the spot. And I got to tell you, that was a lot of pressure. We kind of didn't feel comfortable using cheat sheets. We thought it was like really literally cheating the client. But then we noticed very positive feedback from clients. So we quickly, after like 2 or 3 weddings at the very beginning, we're going to use cheat sheets because this makes everybody happy. So heavy reliance on reference materials at the beginning, and then 3-4 weddings later, top poses become instinctive. Refinement, double down on consistent winners. I already mentioned that. And signature style, your unique approach emerges naturally. What do I mean by that? The signature style, because a lot of times we look at photos of other photographers, and there's this big word of like a style. It's like, what is the style? The style is basically what you tend to repeat. So it's one thing that I want you guys to remember. Over time, it's okay to try different things and experiment, as long as you leave part of your work. And when I say part, it's like, I think at the beginning, at least 50% of what you're doing should stay the same. When a client looks at your website and they see colorful, vibrant images of like relaxed portraits, and then you deliver all black and whites and it's all formal, like, somebody's not going to be happy, and it's probably first the client and then you, because of the reaction. So like, remember, is it okay to introduce other things? Yeah, of course. But there's an expectation being set. Clients maybe saw their friends' photos, they saw your portfolio online. So when you're trying things, like even when you're building your cheat sheet, just make sure that you incorporate, the 50% of the existing cheat sheet if you're planning on changing something, and then incorporating little by little, and then just kind of seeing what works. But just make sure that there's some consistency behind it, because the client will eventually expect that from you. So that's very important. And family, formal workflow. So this is basically what I told you with what we do with an assistant or Joanna. We start with a couple in the middle, and we kind of do the same thing with family portraits. We may start with like parents, and then add both. Let's say there's 2 kids and 2 parents, kind of like in our situations. We have 2 daughters. So typically what we would start with is like with parents, and then we would add kids, and then we would swap out a kid. We would literally tell one kid to like, hey, step away, and then with the other kid, then kids together without the parents, then one parent with both kids, then another parent with both kids, right? So you can see kind of where how this works. And then we would do kids together and kids individually and then parents individually. So in the end, you have a nice portfolio of everybody. So if you're doing family photos and you're just taking photos of the group, please incorporate those other little components, because you never know how the client will be utilizing their photos. Maybe the bride, maybe the now I keep saying the bride, maybe the wife wants her husband's photo at work on her desk. Maybe the husband wants to put a photo of both kids in his car. It's like, you never know how clients will be utilizing that. A lot of times, maybe they'll be sharing the images on their Christmas card, and it's like, oh, maybe when you're assembling your Christmas card, you need 3 or 4 photos because of the sort of layout of the card. So then you need images of the whole family and the kids and whatever. So for some people it's intuitive, for some people it's not. So if that's helpful, I hope it helps. So family formal workflow, that slide, start with a couple and then add children, capture least patient participants first. It's very important. If you have little kids, you want to start with them at the beginning and then let them go. They're least patient, so it's always just kind of, stack them in there as soon as you can. And very often with events like weddings, if we have a flower girl, ring bearer, we would normally try to like do the couple first and then put the kids there. And if they're kind of fussier, let them go. Even if they're not part of the bridal party portrait, it's still okay. There's a lot of people to manage, a lot of yelling. Kids usually tend to be a little impatient. So that's just something that you have to remember. Put them in first, take care of them, make sure that they're part of the event. And that's really just something to remember. And then incorporate parents, build outward from core family and then to extended, and then extended family, complete larger groupings last. Sometimes I get a question of like, hey, what do you do with like, we get requests. So as we're like shooting an event, we may be in a situation where, an uncle, an aunt, or somebody distant, maybe somebody traveled to an event, right? They are asking if they can take a picture with the bride and groom, and it really depends. There's only one answer: time. If we're pressed for time, we don't. We usually tell them, hey, there's going to be an opportunity at reception. We'll make sure that we take it. And that's what we do. Making sure your client is happy is of utmost priority. So the client is the bride and the groom. They have to be happy in the end. That's your objective. Did we have some guests sometimes upset with us because we said no? Absolutely. Again, they're not paying us. They are not the ones we deliver the product to, so it's okay to say no. It's actually a good exercise to learn how to say no to these people. It doesn't happen often. People are usually, cool and they understand, but just something you guys have to know about. And then I did mention creating signature images. A couple things that I just wanted to highlight here is the client favorites. Repeated poses often become most loved shots. I got to tell you, over time, let's say if you do 10 family photos, you will see that there's going to be some images out of those that are produced off of those cheat sheets that you use that you guys will do over and over and over. Like there's literally probably 10 images that we're almost expected to deliver every time, because like I am known for delivering those photos. And when clients come in, they sometimes we're going to have a veil shot, right? Like I don't have an example of the veil shot that I can show you right now, but like they come in and they expect. So, and it's something that evolved from the cheat sheet originally, and then I have done a couple times and it worked every single time. So now it's basically easy for me to just replicate it every single time. I know there is this expectation. I know the clients expect it, and it's like, sure, no problem. And we're sort of like known for just because of those images. clients come, and it's funny the way it works, but that's how you develop your style, right? That's how you establish yourself. Style development, consistent application creates recognizable work. That's just what I said here. Portfolio building, signature shots attract ideal clients, because over time when you use those images, they will sort of project some sort of a feeling, whether it's like a formal portrait or more like a relaxed portrait, maybe a couple laughing. Like, those portraits that you put out there will basically attract your ideal clients, because those clients watching that work will then connect with you on that level. So basically, over time, the more you do it, the more better client knocks on your door, because they're already kind of like what they're seeing, and they are let's call my 14-year-old daughter's language. They vibe with your work, right? So it just works both for them and for you, because the happier they are, the more business comes your way. And then referral generation, memorable images drive word of mouth. This is exactly what I said with like the veil shot, or bride to bride would just pass along the word along, or they would choose that favorite image and like post it on their profile, and that would just drive more traffic through your social media. So that's really what happens there. And then the last slide here, this is very generic stuff, but time efficiency, it's faster shooting because you don't contemplate, you don't sit there, you don't try to figure it out, you don't get stressed, because you already kind of know, like, you have an outline of what you're going to do, so cheat sheets are doing that for you. More coverage, because automatically, like, sometimes it's hard to come up with one or two ideas if it's just trying to figure it out on your own. When you have the cheat sheet, like, sometimes I look at the details and like, oh, we'll do this one and this one and this one and this one, and automatically you produce more work. I mean, you're already on location, might as well put the time investment, invest your time, because it's just going to pay out with more clients. It may be more work, sort of on a short time horizon, like, oh my god, I gotta, maybe I don't want to do it. Like, we always put in more work, because I know it helped us grow the prices and grow the audience and clientele. So more coverage is always a good thing. Comprehensive coverage, never miss essential shots. See, we tend to forget stuff. We're people, right? So cheat sheets also help us with just making sure that everything is done correctly. And confidence building, you're just not as stressed because you have everything in front of your face. So and then better client experience, because they see that you didn't only take one shot of a thing, but there's like different angles, different. Very often, like, you think the client may like this photo, but turns out that they like the photo that you like the least. So, like, you never know. They have expectations. Yes. Will you match their style overall? Yes. But sometimes you don't know. The experimentation, like I said, it's always good, and you should do that. And from the slide deck, that's it, I think, for you guys here. The cheat sheet, if you didn't catch it at the very beginning, this is when I talk about cheat sheet, this is what they look like. This is 3 different sheets of different poses, and this is what I leverage. If you guys are, again, that word, vibing with this content, if you like what you're hearing, I'm actually doing this live every Thursday at 12, so feel invited to join me next week. We're going to talk about, I believe, productivity around, like, photography workflow next week. So I already have a subject for that. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can actually, let me see if I can pop the address here. This is the address of the Facebook group. This is where we have folks like yourself. If you're into photography, you can just go easyproimage.com/group. This will get you to the Facebook group where I post those lives, and Facebook only keeps those lives for about 30 days, and then it kind of just goes away. If you guys want to go and see the recording, because I also store it on my computer, I throw it under guides in the Facebook group, so you can always go back and just reference the material. Sometimes we get like technical, and I show different things. Last week, I think we did Lightroom, and then we did Photo Mechanic. Like, you want to kind of go back and slowly watch it, and probably a big monitor, because most of us may be watching this on a phone. If it helps, maybe you're watching it on the monitor, there's a QR code. You can actually scan it, and this will allow you to go to the Facebook group and to the YouTube channel. Depending on the platform, it'll help you to kind of cross jump to another platform. So so you can use that. If this was helpful, it would be super helpful if you guys could give us a like, or share the content, or even better, leave a comment, because based on the comments, it's easier for me to understand where people are stuck. The way I kind of operate this system of sharing this information is I try to understand where people are stuck. So think of a hose and water coming through. I need to understand where the kink is, where you're stuck. Maybe you're stuck with leads. Maybe you're stuck with your page, website. Maybe you're stuck with not knowing what to say during consultations. Maybe you don't know how to communicate with a client. This way I can take a chunk of information and parse it and present it to you guys here in about 45 minutes. So like I said, all the videos are in the Facebook group. Join us. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you're looking for other places where to find us, there's an Instagram handle on X. I'm just starting to post on X. And then, like I said, the Facebook group and my Facebook profile. Don't be a stranger if you're watching on Facebook. If you have any questions, reach out. Just send me a message on Messenger. Say, hey, Marcin, I'm stuck here, and I'll do my best to help you guys. This is it for this week. I hope you join me next week. Thank you so much. Bye.